everybody, and yesterday Bungie gave us an article that was very interesting. They gave us a whole breakdown of an update that's going to be coming in June that is a complete balance update. And this balance update is largely focused on hunters because, as you remember, Titans had a complete overhaul, Warlocks had an overhaul, now it's the hunters' time. By the way, that doesn't mean that hunters are getting nerfed, it's just a balance change. They want to make sure that you have different build options for your playstyle, and they want to bring in line some things that they feel are a little bit too strong and buff some things that aren't strong enough. But it's not just hunters that are being focused on. We have some weapon changes, we have some other class changes, and in this video I'm going to be going through all of those because I'm sure some of you don't read Bungie.net and you're not on Twitter, you just watch YouTube videos, so hopefully I can answer all of your questions and show you what the June update is going to have in store for you right here. So let's go ahead and just jump right into it. So seeing as this change is mostly focused on hunters, let's start by talking about the hunters. First things first, let's take a look at the gunslinger. The swarm grenade, they're increasing the arming radius by 0.5 meters, so swarm grenade is going to be effective at further range, essentially. Swarm grenade is having its detonation damage increased by 7%. You're going to get more damage out of that swarm grenade. Trip mine grenades no longer attaches to enemies. Instead, it arms on impact, then bounces. So no more sticking people in the face with trip mines and then instantly killing them. And trip mine damage has been reduced by 3%. So it shouldn't instantly kill you, even if you are a low armor character. It shouldn't instantly kill you, maybe not, but I feel like that's what they're trying to do, is not have it instantly kill you. And the reason for these changes is just because everyone likes using trip mines. They don't like using anything else, especially a swarm grenade. No one likes using a swarm grenade. So they're just trying to open up other options and have it not just be the trip mine and have the trip mine be this super frustrating insta-kill thing. So those changes I'm totally fine with. Moving on to the super, golden gun is having its base damage increased by 50% and an additional 30% against AI combatants. So golden gun's going to be more effective in PvE. Maybe running Celestial Nighthawk now and using golden gun will actually be really good. Like, you're going to be doing a lot of damage with that golden gun shot, and you're also going to be able to take out Titan bubbles potentially. Deadeye now increases golden gun damage by an additional 30%. So golden gun's getting buffed in terms of damage. I mean, it always was a one-shot kill on just regular people in the Crucible, but this should mean that maybe you take out people that are using Fist of Havoc or they're using Nova Bomb. You can actually kill them now while they're doing their super. So I'm okay with that, actually. I'm okay with that. I feel like if I pop my super and I'm golden gunning you and you Fist of Havoc me, maybe that's a little unfair that you can just face tank a golden gun shot. I don't know, maybe. But I'm fine with these changes so far. Next, we have throwing knife. Throwing knife base damage reduced by 10%. Circle of life modified functionality. Precision kills with throwing knife reduce the cooldown of golden gun. That's actually really interesting. If you're really good with throwing knives, you can get a bunch of golden guns, so that's pretty cool. Circle of life no longer extends the duration of golden gun, and circle of life +1 armor has been removed. So the reason for the changes of these throwing knives is that they don't want people to get insta-kills on low armor targets when they hit a headshot with their throwing knife with the burn perk added to throwing knives. So they don't want it to just be a one-shot kill. Melees in this game in general are not a one-shot kill, so throwing knives should be no different. Next, they took a look at some of the perks within the gunslinger tree, and they've changed some things around a little bit. They're trying to open up more paths for us to choose different things in the gunslinger tree. So Scavenger increased the amount of grenade and melee energy awarded by 33%. That's a big change. Scavenger might actually be really worth running now. Chain of Woe, they added a +1 recovery, and Over the Horizon, they removed the +1 recovery. So not a whole lot of changes there, but Scavenger definitely looks pretty interesting now. Next, we're moving on to Blade Dancer. We have some changes coming to Blink, which also are the same with Warlocks, by the way. Blink is the same all over the place. It's not just blade dancers. Blink now incurs a -1 recovery penalty. So if you have taken damage and you're trying to blink away, it's actually going to take you longer to get your health back than if you just ran away. So of course, it's not really going to change anything. I doubt anyone's really going to notice it, but it's like if you want to have that super crazy mobility and get away and in and out of fights pretty easily, you're going to take more time to get your health back. So that's fine. That's whatever. Blink Strike's lunge distance has been decreased by 0.4 meters. Yeah, I mean, it brings it more in line with other melees. I don't know how needed it really was, but it does bring it more in line with other melees, so that's fine. Now, Blink Strike. They are making some changes to Blink Strike. Backstab, valid backstab angle reduced by 30 degrees. So the reason that they're doing this is because of the infamous, now very infamous, insta-kill backstab from the front. That should not happen, and how they're trying to address this is by reducing the angle that you need to be at by 30 degrees. So it's a little more specific of an angle that you have to be in order to get that one-shot backstab kill. Escape Artist Invisibility Effect delayed by 0.5 seconds. So I guess this is just to stop confusing people. Like if they melee you and go invisible instantly, maybe you lose where they are. Instead, you're gonna melee someone and you have a little bit of delay in your invisibility. Fast Twitch recharge reduced by 20%. So that's interesting. They're actually buffing Fast Twitch. Maybe they're wanting more people to try and use Fast Twitch over backstab, potentially, maybe. Now moving on to Arcblade, the actual super of the Blade Dancer, which has been a frustration for many players. It is not that good of a super. It definitely needs to be changed. It was just not that good. It's okay, but anytime I get a Blade Dance super, I'm like, well guys, I have my super, but I don't know what that really means. Of course, it can be used to be absolutely amazing, but in general, it's just not as strong as other supers. So they are increasing the base duration of Arcblade by 2 seconds. The hit search range has been increased by 0.5 meters, so that sounds like you're gonna have a bigger lunge. Like you auto lock onto people from further away. That's how I take that. I might be wrong. They added a 0.8 second cooldown between Arcblade swings while airborne, so you can't just be in the air and swing when you're in Arcblade. You can't do that anymore. Energy cost per swing is increased by 20%, so again, you cannot use your Blade Dance super as a way to just fly around the map. The energy cost on hit has been decreased by 20%. Now, this is really important for people to kind of get their head around. What they've done to Arcblade is essentially they've increased the duration, which is good. I think Arcblade needed an increased duration being a melee super. They've made it take more of your super energy to just fly around the map, so you don't want to be using that. You want to be using your Arcblade super to kill people. So if you're actually hitting people with your Arcblade, it consumes 20% less of your super energy than it currently does. So if you are using your super to kill people, you're hitting people, you're getting those kills, then your Arcblade is going to last significantly longer than it currently does. If you are using Arcblade to swing around the map and try and be super mobile with it, then your Arcblade is not going to last as long as it currently does. So I really like this change. They're increasing the duration. I like that a lot. They're making it to where you will have a significantly long super if you're actually using it to hit people with. So I think that's really good. I like these changes. We'll see how good of an impact it is. We'll see if that makes Arcblade be a super awesome super, but I'm glad that they've just focused a little bit on Arcblade and understood that it is not good in its current form. So we'll wait and see how good it is, but I like the fact that we will have it for longer if we are using it as a killing tool. Now, there are some further changes to Arcblade that were more heavily focused on PvE. Arcblade damage has been increased by 30% against AI combatants, so you can actually kill some stuff maybe with your Arcblade in PvE. Vanish now causes the player to vanish on cast in addition to its normal functionality. That's interesting. I don't really know. Okay, sure. Showstopper damage radius extended by 1 meter, so you actually have a little bit longer of a damage radius with Showstopper. Encore. Killing an enemy with Arcblade now extends its duration and grants a 150% increase to Arcblade damage for a short time. That, my friends, is super interesting. Now, of course, this is under the PvE section in the article, but if you are using Encore, I think that's pretty freaking good. Can you imagine getting a kill? You have Encore. You get a kill with your Arcblade. You get that 150% increase to Arcblade damage, and you go in there and like kill someone in their bubble, or you kill someone in their super. That's actually really interesting. We'll see if people actually use Encore. I don't know if they will in PvP, just because the other ones are just a lot better, but we'll see. That's interesting. A 150 increase. That's crazy. That is a big increase in damage. So maybe it'll make people want to at least mess around with it and give some variety to the Blade Dancer class. Next up, we have Night Stalker, which is definitely the class that people have had the most issues with. So starting with the grenades, spike grenade damage impulses per second reduced to 5 from 10. Spike grenade damage per impulse increased by 100%, total damage unchanged. So, okay, I don't know. No one uses spike grenade. Moving on, let's take a look at Shadow Shot, the super of the Night Stalker. Shadow Shot now applies the suppression effect on impact. Thank you. Thank you. Do you know how frustrating it is to shoot a Shadow Shot super and then someone somehow still manages to get their super off even though they're in the tether? Yeah, it's kind of stupid. So I'm happy that they did that. This is going to make Shadow Shot, it's going to make the super way more effective than it currently is. Now, we have a pretty big one in the changes that are coming to Smoke. Now, the thing with Smoke is that they want to make it less frustrating to play against, like being completely blind, being unable to jump, being unable to shade step, being unable to do anything while you're smoked can be a little frustrating. So here are the changes that are coming to Smoke. The impact damage has been increased by 34%. So if you're accurate with your smoke and you hit people, it's gonna freaking hurt. The impact suppression and damage over time duration has been reduced by 1 second. So the effects are gonna last a little bit less time than they currently do. Jump suppression has been removed from initial impact status effects. So when you first get hit with smoke, it's going to hurt a lot more than it currently does, but you're going to be able to jump out of it. Next up, you have the base smoke cloud duration to be increased by 1 second, the envenomed cloud duration to be increased by 1 second, envenomed jump suppression removed from cloud status effects. So that's worth noting. It's not a status effect anymore. People can now jump. Vanish in smoke, they've taken away the +1 agility, and the snare cloud duration has been increased by 1 second. So overall, it seems like they're making it less frustrating to play against. You're not like, oh, I'm smoked, I can't freaking do anything. It's like, oh, I got smoked, that hurt like a mofo, but I can jump out of it, I can get out of this and not just be sitting here blind and unable to move. So that's where they're going with Smoke. Next up, we have the perks for Night Stalkers, what they are doing with the perks. This is going to be a big one for a lot of people. The last one is going to be a big one. Courage of the Pack now increases recovery, armor, and agility by 2 per stack. That's super interesting. That's actually going to make it really good in PvE. Courage of the Pack now stacks 3 times. Lockdown increases smoke duration by 2 seconds, plus an additional 2 seconds with the snare upgrade. Predator now reduces the cooldown of the Shadow Shot ability, so that's interesting. I might actually end up using Predator, especially with Shadow Shot being better now. Now here comes the big one. Shadestep moved to a single dodge on a 3-second cooldown. So currently Shadestep, you can Shadestep twice in very quick succession, then you have a very short cooldown and you can Shadestep again. What they're doing is exactly what I actually wanted them to do with Shadestep. They're making it be a tactical decision as to when you use Shadestep. You actually have to think about it instead of being like, oh, I'm going to check this corner and see if there's someone sniping. I'm going to shade step in and shade step out, and then I'm going to be able to shade step like a second later. You're going to have to think, do I want to shade step and check this corner, or do I want to save it in case an axiom bolt comes or in case a firebolt comes? You have to use a tactical decision. You have to think about what's going on before you shade step, because honestly, I'm a Night Stalker main. I love Night Stalkers. I love everything about them. They're like the ninjas of frickin' Destiny, and I love it. But I can admit that shade step is currently a little obnoxious. You can do it very, very frequently, and it's just frustrating to play against floppy fishes. So I feel like making this more of a skilled thing to use is definitely a better way to go, because a lot of people have been very, very frustrated with just the Night Stalker in general, the fact that they can get out of firebolt damage, they can get rid of axiom bolts, they can get rid of skip grenades, and that they can keep checking corners, and just they're very, very mobile with their shade step. And I think that's where the frustration came from. It's not just shade step as an ability, but it's the fact that people could use it so freaking frequently. So the fact that they're moving it to a single dodge on a 3-second cooldown means that people are going to have to be a little more mindful of situations that they get into. Instead of shade step being a get out of jail free card for every single situation, no matter what, because you pretty much always have shade step available to you, it's going to have to be something that you have to be mindful of, you have to think about, you have to use it in an appropriate way. And I personally really agree with that change. I'm sure people are going to be pissed about it, but I think that it's definitely the right way to go. It needs to be a tactical decision, man. You can't just spam it and get away with stupid stuff, making dumb decisions. You shouldn't be able to get away with that. So I am happy with the shade step change. Now that is the big bulk of the changes, because obviously they are focused on hunters. Now we're just going to skim over the other classes really quickly. We're not going to go into too much detail. Maybe with warlocks, sunsingers, we'll get into some detail, but let's take a look at some changes that are coming. What the hell is that? Changes coming with the universal consistency in other classes. They are changing Twilight Garrison to be a single dodge on a 3-second cooldown. So Titans with Twilight Garrison are what I call floppy birds. We have floppy fish, which are Night Stalkers, and floppy birds, which are Titans with Twilight Garrison. They're basically bringing in the Twilight Garrison movement to be the same as a Night Stalker's movement. So I think that's fine. Can also be super frustrating to play against those guys, so I'm okay with that. Now the super damage, they are tweaking some of the super damages. So Hammer of Saul for Titans, the damage is going to be increased by 10% against AI combatants. Gonna be a little bit better in PvE. Fist of Havoc base damage has been increased by 50% and an additional 50% against AI combatants. So that is... Fist of Havoc's gonna really hurt, man. It's gonna hurt really bad. And in PvE, it's gonna be better than it currently is. Nova Bomb base damage has been increased by 50% and an additional 50% against AI combatants. So there we go. And Storm Trance damage has been increased by 10% against AI combatants. So Nova Bomb and Fist of Havoc are gonna be doing more damage in general, and all of those supers are gonna be better in PvE. Now taking a look at the Sunbreaker, Hammer of Soul travel speed has been increased by 1.3%, and Hammer of Saul hammer detonation radius increased by 10%. So Hammer of Saul is getting a pretty good buff. Your hammers are going to travel much faster than they currently do, and they're going to have a bigger detonation radius, so you don't have to be as accurate with them as you currently have to. Now moving on to Sunsingers. This is going to be one we're going to spend some time on. Firebolt. The changes to Firebolt, they are increasing the arming time by 0.2 seconds, and they are decreasing the victim search radius by 1 meter. So you might see this and see like it's not that big of a deal. It's actually quite a big deal, because as of right now, you throw a Firebolt and it just explodes. It's right there in your face. You get hit, boom, nothing you can do. What they're trying to do is just give you as a player a little bit of time to react to a Firebolt being thrown at you. That's what the 0.2 2 seconds arming time is supposed to do. You get a little bit more time so you can see a firebolt coming and you can actually get out of the radius. Again, they are reducing the radius by 1 meter, so it's actually a good amount of space that they're reducing it by. So you can actually have some time to react to a firebolt coming at your face. You don't just get hit and think, well, I'm out of the game for 20 years, see you guys later. You actually have some time to react to it. So that's super good. Now the changes to Viking Funeral. This is the big one. This is a really, really, really big one. Viking Funeral no longer extends the duration of ignite effects. So Viking Funeral is not going to make you burn for longer anymore. Now what Viking Funeral does is it weakens the targets afflicted with ignite effects, causing them to take 5% more damage from all sources, stacking up to 3 times. So what I see this as and how I take it is that Viking Funeral is still going to be a means of getting people out of the fight, but it's not going to make it to where you're burning and taking so much damage and you're one little tickle away from taking too much damage and dying. What it's doing is, first of all, it's making it a lot better in PvE. This is like way better in PvE than it was before. And secondly, they're just making it to where if I put Viking Funeral on you, I can do more damage to you and probably win that fight. But it doesn't make you constantly burn to your fiery death. So I think this is a really interesting change. They're completely changing what Viking Funeral does. I think it's really cool. I think it's going to be interesting. And I'm actually okay with this because now I can get hit with a firebolt. I will burn a little bit and I will be open to taking more damage, but I can just leave, be comfortable that I'm not going to die, be comfortable that I can get out of that gunfight, be comfortable that I can actually continue to stay in the fight if I want to. I have that option now. So I like this. I personally like it. We'll see how much of a big difference it is in the Crucible, but the fact that Viking Funeral is no longer a thing that's going to make us burn to a fiery deaths, I am A-okay with. That's good. Now taking a look at Flame Shield, that's going to be the last thing that we talk about in this class balance update. Flame Shield now has a 0.3 second delay added before the Overshield activates. So the reason that they added this is because if you are in a close range battle with a Warlock Sunsinger and they melee you, they get their shield instantly and then you can have no possibility of winning that fight. There's no possibility. They have an Overshield. What are you supposed to do? So what they're trying to do is limit that a little bit, and if you are in a punching battle with a Sunsinger, you now have that little bit of a window to actually get another melee on them to kill them before they get their Overshield. So increased melee attack speed is the way to go, everybody. Everyone get your increased melee attack speed gloves because that's going to be super helpful in winning those melee battles with those pesky Sunsingers. So that is it for the class balancing. They are doing some things with weapons and stuff like that, which we can cover in another video, but this was a pretty big one, man. They are changing some stuff with hunters. They're addressing the Night Stalker issues and the Sunsinger issues to try and make them less frustrating to play against. So the changes, in my opinion, look pretty good. They look well thought out. They make sense to me in my mind. They're making a lot of sense. Of course, I can't really say how good all of these changes are until I actually have some more time testing them out. Trials of Osiris is going to be a huge kind of testing playground for all of the class changes and also the weapon balancing. So after the weekend, after I play some trials, I'm a little bit more competitive multiplayer and multiplayer that doesn't include invisible level 0 players, I will definitely make a video and talk about all of the issues that I have with any of the changes, if I do have any, and just my general thought about this patch in general. But from what I've seen, I like what they're doing. It all makes sense. I know a lot of people are angry about the throwing knife nerf, and I totally get that. I don't know if it was 100% necessary, but it's still totally doable to hit someone with a hand cannon, get a headshot, and then they die. So you can still be a master of throwing knives. But again, like I said, I'm gonna have to have more time actually playing the game with these changes to see just how good or how bad they are. So stay tuned for an update on what I actually think about the patch, but let me know in the comments section. If you guys have been playing a lot, what do you think about the changes? What are ones that you're upset with or confused about? What are some changes that you really like? Let me know in the comments section, and I'll speak to you awesome people later. Bye.